know me, I'm Geoff O'Keefe. I'm the Executive Director of Zen Peacemakers, and this is, many of you have been in our programs before, and perhaps some are here for the first time. I'm not sure. We do this every week, at least once, sometimes a couple times a week, where we get together for an hour and a half with an interesting guest or guests that are involved in, engaged in the kind of activity that is really around the circle or the perimeter of Zen Peacemakers. And this can be all kinds of topics. This can be war and conflict, gender politics, racism, homelessness, food insecurity, refugees, the imprisoned, racism, the environment, the arts, pure dharma, whatever it might be. And among those are engaged entrepreneurship. And this is not necessarily unique to Zen Peacemakers. It's not something we thought up, but it is part of our origin story. And Jeff knows this well because I think he's been involved over the years. But early on, Bernie Glassman and a group of others founded Grayston Bakery in Yonkers, and at least on the surface of things, the point was to make brownies and other baked goods. What was really going on was finding a place for people who didn't have work, who didn't have a home, who didn't have skills, who otherwise were shunned by society because of mental health, drug problems, crime, whatever else it might have been, and engaged kind of a no questions asked hiring policy at Grayston, which we're no longer directly associated with Grayston, but they continue that practice. So if you are a human being who's capable of doing the work, you can get hired at Grayston Bakery right now. And so this kind of entrepreneurship is a bit different, but I don't want to fish off of Via and Jeff's pond here too much, so I'm going to let them talk about this. I'm really delighted to have Jeff Furman and Via Carpenter here today as our guests, and I won't attempt to tell you what they're going to talk about. I'll let them do that. So thanks everybody for being here. Via and Jeff, especially thank you both for being persistent so that we could do this. And I'm going to mute myself and turn this over to you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Jeff. Olivia and I talked a little bit, and I said I would start off, and just to give you a little background on the Grayston project that Ben and I actually met Bernie at a social ventures meeting and walking around, and the three of us were walking together, and Bernie was explaining just what you did, what Grayston was all about. And it took about 30 seconds for Ben to say, "You make brownies? Okay, well, you put your brownies in our ice cream." And that was, I don't know, 40 years ago or something. And it began to be a big project to try to get the same quality each time. And we went through a learning curve together, and they're still doing it right now as I speak. Even I think they send the brownies into Europe as well. And I don't remember, how much it is, but it's millions of pounds of brownies that we put in our ice cream over the years, and they provide it. And we're very happy to do it. And that kind of, just is sort of I wanted to say that story because it's an example of what I think is working from the heart. This was not anything that a corporation would look for, trying the product and tasting it and having all sorts of lawyers put things together. We just said, boy, this is a good idea to help you, and this is what our company is about. So that's just one example of hundreds of examples of didn't go through the normal corporate process that one would expect. We just said, let's try it and make it work. And there were some ups and downs in doing that. We had to go back and forth. So I got connected. I'm sorry.
Jeff, if I could jump in, you said Ben, but I don't think you said the company name, and we've got international audience here, so I'm not sure everybody necessarily knows who you're referring to.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Ben and Jerry's ice cream company. Uh, I actually, I'm neither of those, but I'm referred to often as the ampersand in the name. So that's my role. Ben and I met at a school where we were in the Adirondack Mountains, which had 25 students who were really struggling in life, high school age students. And I had a law degree and a business degree and took the job as the um, uh, bus driver. And Ben was into doing pottery and he wasn't selling too much. And we became friends. And so he asked me to help him when he introduced when he introduced Jerry to me, and because we were friends and he trusted me, and uh, it got started. And it got started way from the very very beginning. The We started thinking of what we wanted the company to be, and it started with Ben and Jerry just opening one store in Vermont. And after 2 years, we're burned out. And then they were going to sell it. And then Ben said no, he wanted to keep his share when he realized that we could run this company any way we wanted. And so that's when I joined. And the any way we wanted is from a social justice perspective. The very first things we came up with. I had read something about Mondragon Co-op. I don't know if folks know what that is. That is a co-op in Spain where they have a salary ratio. The top people can't make any more than 3 times anybody else. And we said, oh, that's a really good idea. And it took another 2 minutes, and we said, what ratio should we have? And we came up I think with 5 to 1. And we just said, okay, that's it. And we were the top people. We said, we're going to only be able to make more if everybody makes more. And it didn't go through any other processes like that. And that was just one of the things we did. And we had to raise money, and we went into the community and did a stock offering. And it just took off. And uh, we we had so much support from the Vermonters, and it began and it grew. Well, I don't know if you know the competition Haagen-Dazs that was owned by Pillsbury at the time, and they saw us now as them having uh, competitiveness, and they said to all their drivers, "You can't carry Ben and Jerry's, or we won't give you Haagen-Dazs." And there was an antitrust thing, and because they were owned by Pillsbury, we went out and said, "What's the doughboy afraid of?" That's the Pillsbury icon, and we put up um, uh, billboards and stuff like that. And eventually they changed their mind. We got a lot of press from it. We built the biggest ice cream sundae in the world. We built it in spring in a swimming pool with about 12 tons of ice cream. And yeah, we just try to have fun and continue to do this and do it in a creative, fun way. And um, we realized that social missions was very important to us. We have on I know that you folks have doing peace. We took out full ads when they were doing the shock and awe in Iraq about stopping that war. we've been on the side of stopping what's happening in Gaza. That's creating a lot of problems. You know, people are pushing back because our company is now connected to Unilever. So Unilever owns Ben& Jerry's. We were forced to sell, but we have an agreement that we can have a board that continues to operate and have the rights to continue making a social mission the key part of our organization. I've been quoted as saying if we didn't have a social mission, our company would be irrelevant because the world does not need another ice cream company. If Ben& Jerry's didn't exist, there would be just the same amount of ice cream in the freezers when you went into the supermarket to buy it as there is now. So there wouldn't change. So if we weren't doing all this kind of stuff, that um, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't be worth being in business. And just to quickly tell you that Unilever has other ice cream businesses, and they're now putting them all together and giving it to another group. And this has been creating serious uh, philosophical differences, and it's lawyers and everybody else. We want to maintain our rights to continue to run the company. It's a company now that will be close to 50 years old, and we're going to just push to continue to do that. And we've got a lot of good people on the corporate board now. I resigned in 2018 from it. And the president of the foundation still, and they're trying to stop the foundation. So that's an overview, and I'll pass it over to Olivia, and she can talk about her business. And when we met, just when she was pushing her cookies on, and then telling I was just we were at a gathering, a social justice gathering from a place here in Ithaca, New York, where we both live. And so, and she just had that same feeling of running her business from her heart. And I said, any way I can help, please let me know. And we've been hanging out and doing some stuff, and it's really been wonderful. So I'll pass it over to her.
Thanks, Jeff. Hello, my name is Olivia. My nickname is Via. Call me whichever you want. So Jeff and I met several years ago. I think it was, oh, wow, spotlight. Okay. I think it was like 2021, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. It was several years ago. And I had just started my business, Via's Cookies, during college. So it was junior year, 2020. So right as COVID was really getting out there, making its rounds, I ended up with my sister in Ithaca, New York, living together. We were in an apartment on the Ithaca Commons, and all of our college education had gone completely virtual. And I was always working because my family had never been well off. And so in going to college, I had to get scholarships. So I was a member of the MLK Scholar Program. It's this scholarship program that's only Black people, Asian, and just people of color. And it's very hard to get into. It's a small group of individuals. You get a scholarship, you travel. So we went on a civil rights tour my freshman year of college. We went down to Selma, Alabama. We stood in the church that Dr. Martin Luther King preached in. We walked the bridge that like Bloody Sunday happened on. We talked to people of the movement. And so through that program, I got my scholarship. I was really involved in social justice work from the very beginning of my college career. And then I was also working multiple jobs. So jump back to 2020, everything closed. I had no job to work. I had been primarily working in the service industry, just waitressing or hosting or bartending. And occasionally I would also do office manager work, and everything shut down. And so I had this cookie recipe that I'd made a million different times as a child, actually. In high school, so we're kind of jumping. In high school, I created a cookie recipe. I thought it was in like this book, the Betty Crocker cookie book, but it turns out I don't actually know where I found my original recipe because I looked through this book and it's not here. Uh, maybe it came to me in a dream, but I created this recipe and I tweaked it for weeks, just as like a 13-year-old in the kitchen in my house in Ohio, until it was literally perfect. And so these cookies, if you ever get a chance to try my cookies, they are so good. They have just a impeccable texture. The taste is like gently sweet. They're not overly sweet. I really like salt, so I always sprinkle some salt on top. I put a lot of salt in the cookies, I'll be honest. They're kind of salty cookies, but it's perfect. They're really good. They're a cookie you've never had before, especially since it's a recipe that I made up myself. And I sold those cookies during high school. So when I'm in college here, I've made those cookies so many times that the recipe is ingrained in my memory. So I said, okay, you know what? I used this recipe to make some cash in high school. Let me do this again. I'm going to make them in college now. And so I started making these cookies. And originally I just thought, let me bring them to this coffee shop. So I brought them to a coffee shop. I said, would you sell these? He tried the cookies. He said, yeah. And I started selling them in that coffee shop. Then I was approached by a business professor of mine who was trying to get people to enter this business competition called Demo Day. And I actually hate competing, probably because I was an extremely competitive athlete in high school. So much so, actually, that I was state champion in the 300-meter hurdles. So I had gone through a lot, putting myself through the ringer and constantly trying to better myself in high school so that I could literally be the best. And part of the outcome of that is I really don't like competing with anyone now because I really don't like to lose. And so in college, this professor approaches me. He's like, hey, you should enter this competition. And I'm like, no, nah, man. And he's like, please. I'm like, man, I can't do that. What if I lose? And my sister was like, what's the worst that could happen? You lose. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't like that. And she's like, girl, come on now. And I was like, all right. And so on the very last day was literally the deadline, 11 p.m. I was like, ugh. And I entered the competition. And so what they told me is they said, all right, when you're putting together your business pitch, you have to solve a problem with it. So naturally, me being someone already embroiled in the social justice work, and then also someone I was a first-gen college student, came from a low-income background. I'm at a predominantly white institution, so I'm already one of the only Black people in the room. I was also getting a business degree, so I'm definitely one of the only women in the room also. So I'm sitting in these classrooms full of white men who play football, and then there's me. And I'm thinking about all these different things. And I said, okay, I know the problem that I want to solve. I want to make it easier for people who come from similar backgrounds as me to get a college education and actually complete that education. Because oftentimes people will make it to college. So someone who looks like me or on the spectrum, whatever of what that is, they get there, they make it through their first year of college, and then they can't pay for the next year. So their registration holds on their account. And when you have registration holds, you can't continue. My sister actually had registration holds for a while, and we had to raise a bunch of money. She had to put together a GoFundMe in order to finish her college education. She took a 4-year break trying to raise that money. And I'm really proud of her. She went back to Cornell and finished that last year after having been gone for 4 years. And so I was like, that's a problem. And I see it happening all the time. And I want to do something about it. So I created a mission with my business to give a percentage of my profits to struggling BIPOC, so Black, Indigenous people of color, and LGBTQ plus college students. And I chose those umbrellas because they were identities that I embodied. And so I went and I entered the business competition and I won because I'm a sore loser and I work really hard. And I took home around, it was a very small competition. I took home around like $500 to $600. And with that, I started really pounding the pavement. And that might have been around when I met Jeff. So at this time, I was getting my cookies into different events, different grocery stores. I got them into some local places like this co-op called Green Star and this bakery called the Itka Bakery. And then I got Southside Community Center, a local community center in Ithaca, to cater one of their events with my cookies, which just so happened to be an event where we were welcoming the new director of Southside. And so a lot of really cool people from around town were there, including Jeff. So at the very end of the event, I went to every single table at the event. I dropped my business cards and I introduced myself. And Jeff was like, wait a minute. Yo, this is lit. And so Jeff and I decided to start hanging out, talking. And he was like, yeah, how can I help you? And I was like, I don't know. Let's have a conversation about it. And so since then, him and I have worked together in a lot of different capacities. One, speaking to people, telling people our stories and kind of weaving the similarities together. And two, really being a network for each other and helping each other in different ways that we can. So as my cookie journey continued into the years beyond college, I've continued to grow in different ways. I'm very networked. I'm very networked, and I continue to meet new people and pursue new opportunities. And so in that vein, I began selling cookies in a few different places in Philadelphia. And I began meeting new people in Philadelphia. And then I met some people in New York. And so I've done events in New York City. I've also done events in Boston. And through all of that, I'm meeting all these incredible people. And I'm also very cognizant of the way that I carry myself in the world and how my business can make a difference for the world. Because often a lot of the spaces that I'm in are very, I guess we could say, either revolutionary or anti-capitalist or this or that. And so it's really interesting running a business when you are an activist, when you believe in peace, love, dignity, humanity, all of these different things. And so in growing my business and in hiring people, I try to take all of these practices that I'm absorbing from the people around me, like Jeff and how he ran Ben and Jerry's, into my business so that I can create something that is beautiful and lovely and makes people happy. And so I currently have 3 bakers. So I have 3 employees, and I'm happy to say that I did not know any of them prior to them working with me. And now we are all friends. And so I think that I run my business in a way where they can feel open enough and honest enough with me to share what they want to do better. If there's ever an issue, if there's this, if there's that. And we often have conversations about what we can do better for the people around us. So currently we have a box that we're selling where we donate 50% of all proceeds to food fundraisers for people in Gaza. We're also creating 2 more boxes to do similar things. We're going to do a box where we're donating half of it to either legal fees for immigrants or bail funds. I'm looking into what I think would be more impactful. And then the third box we're going to create is one that is a mutual aid fund. So we're going to kind of pool funds and let people pull from that for struggling Black moms, specifically in Ithaca, New York, because I want to do something directly for my community. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey. It's been a lot of fun, and I've met some really cool people along the way. So that's the Via's Cookies story in a nutshell.
Thank you. It's it always strikes me that how different uh, uh, Olivia is from me and my background and who I am. I describe myself as an old white man, and she's a young Black woman, and we feel so different on the outside, but when you look inside, it have such similarity. So looks can be deceiving. I would just like to besides thanking the, but also to want to, this is the Zen Peace Group, and want to talk a little bit, if you, and then we can take some questions or whatever. But the fact of some of the things that Ben & Jerry's has done for peace, what I mentioned the Iraq War, and then we came up with this idea of 1% for peace. And what it was a exercise to try to get 1% of the Defense Department's budget for creative ways to make peace instead of more weapons. That would have been, when we were doing it, it would have been something like around $3 billion, 1%. Everybody said, you think the government's going to give you and your friends $3 billion? Boy, what were you guys thinking? But that was generally the idea, in the sense that we don't need all these the weapons that we continue to just build and build and build and build. We should have some sort of creative way to do it. And we came out with Peace Pops to promote the idea. Also, I got on a plane and went to the Soviet Union when that existed, and I had some contacts to, and that was our big enemy then, to create a Ben and Jerry's store, and then do citizen exchanges. And that. So I spent a bunch of years going back and forth. We finally got a store open, and uh, we exchanged students, young people who worked at some Ben and Jerry's shops with folks working in Russia, and the store was very, very successful in Russia, financially for Russia. And I got taken to lunch by the mafia, and literally they took me and said, "By the way, we now own the Ben and Jerry's store," and threatened several of our folks who were Soviet Union people who lived there, grew up there. Their life was really threatened. We had to get them out of the country, and they went. We got them back. We got them into Vermont and their families, and the person from Vermont became one of our general managers in our factories in Vermont. It's a story of what this company did and tried to do. Some things don't work out like you did it, but that was it. And now, if you had 1% for peace, you'd have $9 billion. So that's where the country has gone, and just always continue to try to do it, and use the word peace and love in a lot of our promotions from our shops around the country. And we also do things that Unilever and other companies don't approve of. So this last year was when they stopped funding the foundation the Ben and Jerry's Foundation, and now we're trying to get that back. I'm still the chair of something. I'm chair of the foundation, and we're working hard. And we give our grants to people who are impacted. So it's if you're impacted by something and you're working together to try to deal with it, it's the kind of groups we fund because the sense that sometimes donating things you're caught between. Should we let's use food for example? Should we give money to people who are starving? Or should we give money to an organization that's trying to create food security? And this allows us to do both because it's the people who are really impacted who have come together to try to challenge it. And so, in a sense, we've given them that problem and dilemma and to try to figure out because they know better what they need in their community.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Via. We've got a small group here, and this can be sort of friendly and intimate. If anybody's got a comment or a question, please, I'd love to have us engage here a little bit, and feel free to open your mic and share if you'd like. Roland, thank you.
Yeah, hello, and thank you for those two outlines of your work. One of the things I'm interested in is how far you take this activist approach. And what I mean by that is, okay, you're making cookies, you're making a profit, you're using that profit for something else. Do you check your suppliers? And in particular, I'm interested in kind of how you deal with your banking, because I don't know what it's like in the States, but over here we have, a reasonable supply of ethical banking. We've got a cooperative bank that works nationally and has an ethical policy. And then when you dig down a bit deeper, you find that for them to operate, they have to use one of the big clearing banks, HSBC, for example. So I'm just interested in how you deal with that, whether it doesn't matter to you or just your opinions, really. Thanks.
Yeah, I can talk first. So it all does matter to me, which makes running a business really difficult. And so I've been slowly combing through all of the things essentially. Right now, so for example, my bank is actually a local Ithaca credit union. It's called Alternatives Federal Credit Union. And I've spoken to many of the people who operate in that personally. Like, there's this guy named Joe. He's really awesome. And he's doing a lot of really good work to make it more just. And so, in terms of that, surface level at the top, like we're good on the banking side. I have also actually dug deeper through that and spoken to people who are involved in different things, help like Black women do business. And there's a woman named Lindsay. Her and I have dug deeper into where Alternatives gets their funding, and some of their funding comes from the government, but a much larger amount of it is slowly beginning to come from just other private individuals and fundraising, because our government is so bad. I'm like, I don't know a better way to say it. And so like on that side of things, I've got that down. But the more difficult part is actually the supplies. And so I've been doing I did like a few weeks where I really went in and I searched for suppliers who weren't employing any slave labor. And so now I only buy my vanilla from this one organization where you can see their entire footprint, And so I have like a specific person I buy vanilla from. And the flour we get is made down the street, and it's farmer ground flour in Trumansburg, New York. And then all of these different, like I have this whole network of different suppliers that I'm using, which is actually very difficult. It's very difficult, and it's more expensive than it was before, obviously. But it does make me feel like I'm doing something better for the world. And then the biggest thing actually is packaging. So I'm very concerned about the climate and the world, because if there's no earth, then there's nothing. We're all dead. It's over, And so we have to keep her alive. And so right now I did a bunch of fundraising. I am making a switch to all biodegradable and recyclable cookie bags. And it has been taking me forever. I like, even yesterday, I had to alter the design 4 times, and it's grueling. And the amount of back and forth we've had to do to bring the cost down over and over and over has been insane. But I am so committed that, I will do whatever it takes to make it so that my business is not only giving to people in need, but also sets a good example for how you can run a business and care about the planet and the people and everything in between. And actually, Jeff is one of the people who really put me onto all that. He was like, "So where are you sourcing your ingredients?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked." Proceeds to change all of my sourcing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can kind of answer that question a little too also. When you use the expression, you running the business from your heart, it's everything. It's life. It's not only just putting out a marketing thing, even if it's a marketing thing for peace. I'll give you some examples. We, through the Ben and Jerry's Foundation, gets money from the company. We take employees to various meetings so that they get experiences on what real struggles are going on in the country, United States. That's our major place. So we go we'll want to look about racism. We'll go to Alabama. We take 30 employees at a time for events. We were just in Philadelphia, and we went to see some groups that are struggling around environmental stuff, where they put the incinerators, or in low-income communities. We've been to places in the U.S. called Cancer Alley because of the pollution. We take them around through that. The other thing is, in terms of our CDs, we don't invest in the stock market. We only give. This is the foundation. We give. We put some of our finances in certificates, and we use socially responsible banks. I'll give you the names of the big ones that we use. It's called self-help credit unions. You can look at it for anybody from the United States. They have a track record they have several branches in California and I think North Carolina. And so we make a positive effort with the money. We make sure that our farmers in Vermont pay and treat their workers fine. We pay extra for the milk so that the migrant workers on the farms get a living wage. And we say, we'll pay extra. We've also set up what is like a union. Most of our farm workers are fluent in Spanish and don't speak English as well. That's not their first language. So they have a grievance procedure where you can go in, and if they say the farmer is not treating me well, they're doing something not right, and that do that in Spanish, and then there'll be some kind of investigation. And it's usually just about little things, maybe they're not keeping it warm enough or something, but whatever it is, we paying for all that. So it's right through the whole organization. And as Olivia said, that your mind has to think of everything. It's not just the bottom line; it's everything. Everything has an opportunity. And we have, when beginning thing, anytime we would get together about any part of the business, always to ask, how can we make this better because of some kind of social justice issue? I mean, that's like a topic and you try to figure it out. Another example of that would be when you do franchising. We did some franchising with groups that just hire young people who were maybe disabled. We did one in Ithaca for a while, where we had young people, and we made sure it was very diverse. And it was one of the times I learned a lot about racism through listening to the white kids and the kids of color. I remember one time they came up to my office, and they were allowed to use the office anytime they wanted, and had a meeting. And they were saying both of them recognize that some customers come in and do not want to be waited on by somebody of color. They can tell that they're waiting on. And so what did they do with it? And what I learned was the white kids who were on there said, "Oh, we'll throw them out. We will, we won't serve them. We'll say, get out of here." And the kids of color kind of shrugged and just were used to it. And you learn that it's not just so much what you read in the books about racism; it's the day-to-day experiences that are different. So it's everywhere, and and that's what makes it wonderful to do, difficult to do. You wake up in the morning and you say, "Holy, I haven't thought about that." So that's part of the journey that makes it wonderful in working together. So that's that's why I'm 82 years old and I'm still pushing it around and at Ben and Jerry's, and I have long history with folks, and I've gone around actually the world speaking about people about doing B Corps, young people who are starting a business like Olivia, and I do it just because it's wonderful. So it makes it. I feel very lucky in my work life. I'll just put it that way, to be able to do it with friends and do it from my heart, and not just. And it's still continuing to do it as long as I can.
Mhm.
Great, Jeff. Roland, thank you for that question. That stimulated a lot. And I think there's still more we can unpack around it. But Olivia, there's something I want to do before I forget.
Yeah.
Sure to put your URL in the chat for everybody so we can buy some cookies.
Yeah.
That's my mercenary side. So
Thank you.
I love your website. It's beautiful, by the way, too.
Thank you. I did it myself.
Um, let's stay on this for just a second. From having been in business for a long time, working for other people who are not committed like you guys are, Olivia, are there some things that you just can't solve? When it comes to this, as far as making the very best choice you can in terms of supply or business relationships or you know, are there things that just kind of defy solution? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do know what you're saying. I think it depends. Okay, I can give an example. So there's this legislation that they're trying really hard to pass in Ithaca called Just Cause. And it's basically giving workers the right to just cause, like CAUSE, and where you can't just fire someone. Like you can't just say, all right, you're done here, bye. And I'm the only business in the entire city who has signed on to that. And it's because all of the other businesses, or I don't know if it's all of the others, but I think others are afraid of that because people can be unpredictable. So, for example, I have a really good relationship with my workers. However, there's one person that I had recently employed that no longer works with me, who, when I tried to hold them accountable for something, because you should just do that, like even a kind leader will hold people accountable for mistakes. They had been making mistake after mistake. I'd lost hundreds of dollars because of them. And we had a really good friendship too that happened after I hired them. And so I was like, hey, I think we need to have a conversation. And I told them, I was like, so this is what happened and this is how it affected us. And then they got triggered and they started bawling their eyes out. They got in their car and they left. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so it's like sometimes there are situations where even when I try really hard to do the right thing, somehow it ends up wrong. And that's why I understand why the other businesses don't want to sign on to Just Cause. It's because they're afraid of instances like this, where someone just does something that you don't know what to do about it. There's mental illness involved, but that's where Just Cause comes into play. And so it's like, I face things like this every once in a while where it's like, no matter how hard I try to do the right thing, humans are humans and they're unpredictable. And some people are this way and some people are that way. And it can just be up in the air. If I get into like real detail about like the way I run my company or where money comes from or goes to, one of the biggest things that sometimes keeps me up at night is who I think I'm allowed to take money from. So, for example, Paramount Pictures, they've purchased cookies from me before. And Cornell, I do a lot of business with Cornell. But if you look at Cornell or you look at Paramount Pictures, both of those places, the institution and the business, they both have very corrupt practices. So like Cornell, if you dive into it at all, you'll just see like there's a lot of corruption happening. Like the president of Cornell is there's stuff. And so I'm like, is it against my morals to take money from them, or am I doing a good thing by taking money from them? They're paying me and I'm turning around and giving money back to their students that are struggling. So it's like, okay, am I Robin Hood, or should I not be doing business with these people? Like, I don't think I would put my cookies in Starbucks. I think that people would be really angry at me. They'd be like, you just turned down billions of dollars. And I'd be like, I don't want Starbucks to carry my cookies. And there are lines that I will draw, but sometimes I don't know where to draw those lines. So yeah.
Thank you for that. Yeah. It's easy to get, as we say, wrapped around the axle sometimes with this. Nem, you had your electronic hand up earlier. You still have a question?
Yes. I'm them. Thank you, Olivia, for sharing your very inspiring story. I really like it. By the way, I love cookies, so I can do this little. Before I ask my question, let me tell briefly about myself. I practice at Zen Center of Los Angeles. I'm one of the teachers there. And I have my own business that I've been running for 30 years. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I took Bernie's workshop on serving the one, a 6 months workshop, and it really inspired me to make our company a B Corp. Ben and Jerry also inspired us, in making our company B Corp. We also became fully 100% employee-owned companies. So Olivia, I'm really inspired with the thing you are doing, business with your purpose, the business with your heart. So I am very curious about your plan, your plan to expand your business. Do you have internal people to do it, or you're getting help from outside? I don't know if any of us outside here, can be of help. So I'd like to hear about your plan to expand your beautiful business. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I do. I do plan to keep growing Via's cookies because I know the positive impact that I can make. And I've looked at it from many different angles, actually. And interestingly enough, one of my most recent, I guess, thoughts slash kind of pathways that I think I'm going to take is I want to work with a socially just co-packer. And so I went and I toured the Grayston Bakery factory. And I met with Kevin McGarren and the people there. And he told me about the Zen Peacemakers. And I was like, oh, Kevin, I've got something to tell you. I was like, I'm talking to him soon. And he was like, what? And essentially, what I want to do is I want to grow my business to a point where I can meet quantities that are way far above what my small kitchen and my small 3-person crew can do. I also have spoken to them about it, and I've asked them what they want for their futures. And my head baker, Lashandra, she is definitely someone who I'd put second in command. So if I'm the CEO, she's the COO, head of operations. And so essentially I extended to my bakers. I asked them, what would you like to do? Say that we turned over our production to a co-packer who has good standards and morals and all that stuff. And then you guys took on different roles. What would those roles be? And we had this big discussion about it. And I've had a bunch of people, actually. I was talking about my network earlier. I do have a very broad network, and many of those people are helping me in different ways. Like I have a lawyer and she's a pro bono. I met her at a talk that Jeff and I did at NYU. She came up to me afterwards. She said, I want to be your lawyer and I'll do it for free. And I was like, okay, yeah. And so I have a very vast network. I've got a man named Antoine based out of Ohio who is working with Jeff and I on some different things. And he's connected to me to a bunch of different people. He connected me to these 2 different guys named Roger. One of them runs a cannabis company in Chicago and New Mexico. And the other one does a bunch of sports media, and he helps people get into grocery stores in the Midwest. And so I'm connected to both of them, having conversations with both of them about different things we can do. And then even here in Philadelphia, I've been speaking to the colleges about doing cookie boxes because we already do cookie boxes. that can be made into fundraisers. And so sort of like what I'm doing for my Palestine box. 50% of it goes to the school's fundraiser, 50% of it goes to paying us to make the cookies. And so there are many open doors I have currently. And one of the biggest things I actually struggle with those open doors, and sometimes the door will get slammed shut when they figure out that I'm really radical. And that's okay. I'm always like, oh, okay, I guess I really didn't want that anyway. And I move on to the next thing. But yeah, I do have a plan, and I have many, many different people helping me with it. And I always welcome more help.
Oh, good. Thank you.
You know,
One of the things I learned from Bernie was about how put the families, you need 5 different roles within a company, like CEO, CTO, CFO, COO, and that was very helpful. And if you are already familiar with this, maybe internally you can have those 5 different roles.
Mm.
You as CEO, Thank you.
Yeah, no, I definitely the biggest difficulty is making the money to pay all the different 3-letter acronym people.
Mhm.
So, or abbreviation or whatever. But I have a really good feeling about some of the projects that I'm working on right now. So, yeah.
yeah, I was just going to answer your question in a little different way, because I know when I talk about it, I make it seem very easy for for doing what Ben and Jerry's did. The amount of times that we got long meetings arguing with each other, could fill a lot of time. And Jerry and I always talk about it. We had a group called the Drive Five, and we were in charge of doing all of the social mission stuff. And we had so many different opinions about what to do. Should we be doing these? And it was very, very hard. And Ben was in and out and doing it, and it wasn't simple. And it was all, sometimes there was a debate. You said, well, look, we have to build a bigger factory. You're doing all this social justice work. We don't have any money. We can't do more of that stuff. These came up all the time. The thing I can say, we all stayed friends, but it wasn't really easy. What are we? We are a social justice organization or a business. Those kinds of debates, and how do you take care of employees, and how do you I'll use Graystone, for example. Some people said, we can't do Graystone anytime because sometimes the brownies they sent us, weren't the same, because when you're diddling and putting it in a product, but your product has to be pretty similar each time somebody buys it. So we went through all these things. Someone says, no, we have to continue to work with them. So it's not just an easy, smooth ride, when you have different degrees and how to take care of our employees and all this stuff. And it took a long time for us to just and we never did this. We never did the social justice to make more money, but we began to get a reputation, and we realized, my gosh, our business is exploding. Ben & Jerry's became a very financially secure and profitable, but there was many years when the struggles were in between. What should we do, and where is our heart, and all those stuff. So it's not that I'm trying to put some reality to the. It's 50 years of it, and I remember it. But it's wonderful that we're still hanging out together.
That's great. Thanks, Jeff. Carl, I see your electronic hand. Thank you for jumping in.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I'm definitely not the only European participant because Roland is from UK, I'm from Germany, just to give you an idea. And yeah, Olivia, what you're doing is it's very impressive. And my question, I think, refers a little bit more to Jeff because Ben & Jerry's is slightly bigger than Via's Cookies, I guess.
Just a little bit.
Very little bit.
Zero. That's all it is. It's just about
But I guess you're catching up.
where the decimal point is. That's all.
Yeah. Now, my question is regarding, let's say the behavior of top management, top and middle management, because I've been working for a couple of, or 2 or 3 huge corporations in Germany and also Asia. And my observation was that, of course, there were kind of management guidelines or behavior management principles, but quite often, as far as I could see, those people didn't really adhere to them. They didn't follow them. And so it was something you said, okay, we should do this and that. It was expected from the employees, but the managers didn't do it. So it was, from my perspective, a little bit worth nothing and not honest. I don't know whether this is or was necessary within Ben & Jerry's, but was there kind of a, let's say, an approach to ensure that interior or internal behavioral rules were really followed?
Well, yeah, I think it's hiring the right people, and that it wasn't it. You can't do that 100% time accurately, but focusing, not on what they had done rather than, well, they got a degree from this business school and then they were this and then the vice president and that, if they didn't have some background about social justice or some ideas about it, I think they wouldn't get hired. We made some mistakes. We made a big mistake that cost the company a lot. Somebody that, because the company had tried to build a big second factory and made a lot of mistakes. We had people there really that didn't know how to do that. And of course, it was the first time the company had a loss, and some of the board members were very cautious and said, we should have to get somebody in here who really knows how to run a business. And we got somebody there, but he also knew how to get a business sold. And so there was all of a sudden a whole different thing. So we have made mistakes along those ways. Part of it, so it's not, everything we tried wasn't perfect. But mostly the management and even mostly with the CEO of the company who we hired, they really turned out great. I mean, we knew them. I mean, I brought a CEO who I knew in Ithaca, who on the bank, I was on the board of the bank along with him, and he was great. And so I knew what his values were, and so I recommended him, and he came and he was there, and he brought his values with him. And so we've had those kinds of things, but we have made some mistakes and not paid attention enough from ourselves to out there trying to do something, and then all of a sudden coming back and saying, well, this stock and that anyway, who owns, and then that's why the company did get sold. We weren't looking to sell it. We tried to stop it being sold.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I wish I could give you a little 4 steps, but
Okay.
sorry.
Well, it's like Olivia said earlier, we're dealing in organizations with human beings, and we have our flaws, to be sure, some greater than others. Anyone else, please? We've got a little bit of time here. If somebody has something to share or a question, I appreciate Carl and them speaking up, and Roland.
I was gonna say, Nem, can you drop the name of your business in the chat?
It's called CalSoft, like California Software, CALSOFT, CalSoft Systems.
Chaos Assist. Ah,
It's an IT company based here in Los Angeles.
you're in Los Angeles?
Yes.
I've never been to California.
Yes, but we have offices overseas as well, in Japan, UK,
Mm.
Asia, Mexico.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Olivia, I think California needs your cookies.
I also think that, maybe I'll have to make a trip.
It's the fourth biggest economy in the world, so and you don't need a passport to go there. So
You're right. I do have a passport, but it would be a lot harder to get my cookies into like the UK than California. Yeah.
well, you know a guy now. I think Roland just pulled some strings over there.
Roland, do you know anyone who needs cookies in the UK? You, perhaps?
So Olivia, I hope I qualified to buy your cookies.
You do. Absolutely. Yeah. No,
I-
we've sent many cookies to California.
I can think lots of people who need your cookies. The practical problem, as I understand it at the moment, is that the postal system between our two countries is patchy, to say the least. So
It's
maybe
not.
we could do, I don't know, maybe we could, do a franchise or something.
There you go. There you go.
Via's cookies over there. I know there's some company. I forget what they're called, so it's useless. Never mind.
There are lots of companies around. It's kind of, yeah, thinking around the hurdles that may be in place, I guess.
Yes.
And sometimes you do have to say, I think you do have to say, considering everything, it's probably we just haven't got the time or the energy to try and do this. We'll put it on the to-do list for later on.
Oh yeah.
Well,
If
Olivia,
nothing
one,
new, no.
one of your biggest challenges is you're going to have to start calling them biscuits.
You know what? That's not too hard. I could do that. My
No.
biscuits.
No,
Yes.
don't get started. Jaffa Cakes ran into deep trouble as to whether it was a biscuit or a cake
A cake, yes.
Oh,
because of the way the whatever it is,
the
top
texture.
stuff. Yeah,
My
and it went all the way to the courts, and so you had very learned lawyers saying, well, if it's that way up, it's probably a biscuit, but unfortunately you present it that way, and therefore it's a cake. And the crucial point was that the purchase tax on it are different.
Oh my.
So
Which one's more expensive?
Jeff, you don't need to raise your hand. You can just speak. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I raised it because what I was going to do was it wasn't anything about Ben and Jerry's and to ask a favor of everybody on this call or somebody that something I wanted to mention, but it is about Ben, the Ben of Ben and Jerry's, who is doing a major effort to deal with in the U.S., our absurd defense budget. You can look it up. He's been he does this crazy thing with the Oreo cookies and everything else. And he's really committed to this. This has been his big issue since I've known him for 50 years. And he's out there doing it. And I think if you looked him up, Ben Cohn, and Defense Department budget and Oreo cookies, you'd see his work. And if there's any interest in sort of reaching out and being some help around that, if that feels right to any of you, that you could think about, and that would be appreciated. I know from him, well, from me, but it's the big thing.
Thanks, Jeff. Thank you for that. Great.
Thanks.
I'll reach out to you separately afterward.
Okay.
We have a few minutes, and we do have some calls from Germany and Roland from the UK, and so something may have gone by that might benefit from just a little explanation. B Corp. Jeff, I think you said Ben and Jerry's is a B Corp. Olivia, I'm not sure if your company is. I'm very familiar with it. I had a consulting company a number of years ago, and we went through the rigor of trying to qualify. We didn't have any products. We didn't have a factory. We didn't import anything. We didn't, and it was really, really hard. And I'm wondering if anybody here does not know what a B Corp is. Olivia, are you versed enough to give just a few minute description of what that is? It's really a good thing.
I am not a B Corp yet because, as we spoke earlier, there are multiple hurdles to jump, and I'm making my way down the track. I think I can say what a B Corp is, but Jeff might be able to say it better. I mean, a B Corp is basically a company that's certified doing good for the world. That's the real nutshell definition. Jeff?
Yeah, but then they do have some requirements in the organizational structure. For example, your board, you have to have somebody assigned to be the focus of their work or standing or social justice work. So it is an organizing thing that probably, you don't, given the size of your business, you don't have the capacity to do that, or maybe that's simple, but I don't know what all the different rules are. I think we started the B Corps in Vermont, because we got the Vermont government, the state of Vermont, to say that a corporation doesn't have to just focus on profits. That's essentially, we got to pass that, because everybody says, shareholders, it's the shareholders, and we said, it's the people who are hungry and the people who, so anyway, so that was our effort. So that's created it, and so and there was, before COVID, I was doing a lot of speaking about B Corp down in Guatemala or other places, and it's just mainly the idea, but I think you could look into it a little bit of time where we could do that together.
Yeah. There are elements that have to do with your physical location and your impact on the land and the environment, the way you treat employees, the way you're structured, how you're documented in terms of your organizational processes and things like that. It's really rigorous, and if anybody's interested, I encourage you to look into it. It might sound like it's just something for small companies, but I think Unilever or somebody like that or I don't know if it was Unilever, but there's a giant corporation that's just qualified, and there's more than a few that are bigger that are B Corps at this point too. So
In B Corp, they have changed some rules in the last couple of years ago that now even small companies can easily, qualify, because until a few years ago, we had to go through a lot of rigorous things. I mean, there are 5 different categories like governance, the employee thing, and the social justice, the planet, ecosystems, all those things. And now B Corp understands that the small company cannot do everything there. And so it's much easier now because depending upon the size of the company, they have made it very accessible now.
Yeah, thanks for that, Nam. Thanks. We have just a few more minutes. Anyone else have a comment or a question, or perhaps Olivia or Jeff, if you want to say something final? It's been wonderful, and I like these smaller groups like this. It's nice just to be able to chat a little bit. But if either of you have something you want to close with, maybe this is the time.
I'll just tell you where you can find me. So yeah, there's my website. I also have an Instagram. It's just Via's Cookies. Everything is literally Via's Cookies. I am always looking for help, always looking for supporters, always looking for good conversations. One of the biggest things that I am moving towards is, yes, I'm trying to grow my company. So I definitely look for larger customers. If you know anyone at institutions like colleges who would carry my cookies in the cafes, or if you know a larger corporation or a law office where they would buy client gift boxes, things like that, that's definitely where I can use customers. Also, on my website, we sell boxes, so put your friends on, get a box of cookies. And here's my email, so that if you have any ideas, you can let me know. I'm always open to ideas. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Olivia. Thank you.
Request. Olivia and I both live in Ithaca. They're not too far from Ithaca. 50 women farm workers were absconded by the federal government. Some taken away from their children, and anybody from any other country, help us. This is really so sad. I mean, we're dealing with just awful things, and it just, as somebody, try to figure out what to do. This happened right here in this area where it's theoretically, very progressive area, but it's happened here. There's like 50 people. We have farm country around here, and we're absconded just a few days ago. So that's what we're living with at the moment. Just wanted to
Thank you.
that kind of pain, and we're as a company trying to figure out how best to do that. We have put some foundation money into some helping immigrants and also LGBTQ young people who's struggling. So anyway, I don't want to end in a sour note, but it's a real thing, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jeff. And everybody who's based in the U.S. is aware of this. Europeans, I'm sure, as well. But it's happening all over the country. And as long as we have a minute, Jeff, I'm just kind of curious, because it sounds like it's very intimate for you. You probably know the farmers. What do they do? If they lose 50 people, if it's a giant corporate farm someplace in Nebraska, it might be one issue, but smaller farmers where you are, what do they do? Are they really in dire straits now?
Well, this was only a couple of days ago, and then focus has been on how to find out where these people are, and these are a group of farmers, not one or two.
Uh-huh.
But it's still, if they're a group, they're taking away a high percentage, and I'm not sure, but we do have somebody I know that's in touch with what's happening with the farmers and the farm workers. But it's kind of shocking news in our little part of the U.S. said that they came here and this whole big thing happened. And it's not just a small thing. It's 50 human beings and going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, it was only 2 or 3 days ago, so it's not been possible.
Yeah.
What the farmers are doing.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And with Olivia's business, it's not inconceivable that this could have an effect, one way or another among your supply chain. So it's important we know about this. Well, I think, thank you all. Thanks for your questions, your comments, for your presentations, for your inspiration. I think we'll go ahead and close for now with much appreciation for everybody's time and attention. Thanks for being here and buy cookies.
Hey, what about ice cream? We can
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
being recorded. That's all I care.
Well, the good thing is that they go together. Yeah. Okay, everybody. Thank you very much.